When people talk about getting better at Geometry Dash, they usually give tips like push yourself out of your comfort zone, do levels that uses game modes you aren't comfortable with, show you how to practice levels effectively, and so on. All of these are things you can do inside the game, but people usually never talk about the things you can do outside the game to get better results. Even though this is just as important, if not even more so. Being in control of your emotions and having a good mindset are skills that can apply to any skill level. And while these things are something that I believe anyone can learn, the process of learning it is not really something that can be explained. However, there is different approaches that people take and will prefer. And in this video, I will attempt to lay the methods out that I have been using, so you can hopefully find the one that works the best for you. So here is the 3 ways to control your emotions and use it to your advantage. The first one is probably the most common, because it requires little control. It's the one where you allow yourself to get angry while playing, and then use that anger as motivation to keep pushing. Now, I've only found this method to actually work if you get angry at the level. You can't beat yourself up too much, because that just causes you to doubt yourself. The fine line you gotta walk when using this method is to not get too angry, as you let the anger sit with you. You can definitely get to a point where your anger hinders your performance and makes it hard for you to focus. However, it's different from person to person as to when you hit this point. The second method looks like the first one on a surface level. You still allow yourself to get angry, but the key difference is that you don't let the anger sit with you. You have to snap out of it and then continue playing. This requires more control, but if you can do it successfully, you will both avoid your anger building and bottling up, since you release it when you need to. The third method is not allowing yourself to get angry at all. Just focus on the level and try to keep your reactions to a minimal. To do this, you have to get into a state where you feel comfortable with failure. You have to see it as inevitable. This is the method that requires the most control, but you will avoid any negative emotions that can affect how well you play. The downside to this one is that you have to get into the state where you feel comfortable failing, or else your anger will just bottle up and all come out at once, which will completely ruin your session. This is the method that I use the most and find to be the most effective. And because I generally stick with this one, I have some tips on how to get into this state. Before I sit down and play, I like to do something that makes me feel good, which typically is taking a cold shower, take a walk in the woods, or maybe even clean my bathroom. It helps get rid of any negative emotions I might have and make me a little more happy about life. And then when I warm up, I like to play something I enjoy, which is typically some copies of Extreme Demons. It doesn't really matter what you play, as long as you have a good time. I know that I typically get frustrated at easy demons if I don't beat them quickly, so I avoid warming up on that. Basically, the key is to just make sure you feel confident and happy when going in for your sessions. If you're already positive going in, it will most likely spill into your session. Another tip I would also give, which I really think applies to any of the 3 methods, is to not go back and practice a part mid-session, unless you feel like you absolutely have to. It interrupts your focus and can often lead to a mind block. If you just died 3 or more times to the same part in normal mode, and you stop your session to go and practice it, you subconsciously confirm to yourself that this part is a problem for you and you can't pass it right now. So even if you practice it and go in again feeling like you're now good at it, you will often just keep dying to it. If I catch myself dying to a part multiple times, which is typically not a choke point for me, I just try to ignore it. Just keep playing and the deaths will eventually stop. You want to make sure that when you're done with your practice phase, you spend the majority of time in normal mode. You only practice to maintain consistency. If you keep going back and forth between practice and normal mode, you can easily end up spending more time practicing when you're supposed to get attempts in trying to beat the level. Now, it's worth mentioning that what method you use can depend on the level you're playing. If I'm doing Zakuban Hell, for instance, I don't think my method of staying calm is gonna last very long. But if I'm playing, let's say, 666, allowing myself to get angry is not really gonna help, since I really like playing the level, so there's no reason to get angry over my own stupid mistakes. But on Zakuban Hell, there's no fun to be had, and therefore nothing to keep me invested, except my own frustration. I still think it's best to find one method that generally suits you and try to stick with it until you find a level or reach a point where you feel like you have to switch it up. Now that we are talking about level specific tactics, I want to touch a little on setting expectations for yourself. When you are practicing a level, it's important to identify troublesome parts and set realistic expectations. Let's say you are practicing a level and there is this one part which you find really hard, and you think to yourself, this will never get consistent. But over time you practice it more and more and you finally manage to get the hang of it. Finally, this part is not going to cause me any more trouble. And then you go on to play normal mode and this part kills you over and over. And you are now super frustrated with yourself. This is a scenario that I'm sure we all know and want to avoid. So the next time you're practicing a level and you feel like you're ready to go for normal mode, take a step back and try to imagine the normal mode experience. Where are you going to die a lot? How far do you think you're going to make it in X amount of time? How long will it take you to beat it? And the key is to set low, or at least realistic expectations for yourself. If you see what's coming, it's going to be far easier to control how you react to it. The last thing I want to mention is not really related to mindset, however it is something you can do outside the game to get an edge in the competition, so I'm putting it in. So for a while I've been having issues with my eyes when playing GD. They would often start to hurt by the time I do my evening session. And for a long time I tried getting around the problem by taking more breaks from the screen throughout the day. But what I should have done a long time ago was just to get a pair of blue light glasses, which I recently bought a pair of, and they have completely changed the game for me. My eyes never hurt anymore, and I sleep better at night. I am also able to focus on the game for much longer now. Before I would struggle to go 2 hours at a time, but now I can easily do 3 hours without losing concentration. So if you have experienced similar problems, or even if you haven't, get a pair of blue light glasses. It doesn't have to be expensive to be effective. I got a pair for about like 25 bucks and they really get the job done. So that's it for me. I hope I was able to give you some insight which you hadn't heard before, and I invite you to check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day.